All right, welcome in to Purple Daily. Matthew Collar, along with former NFL quarterback Sage Rosenfels, in a sad day in Viking land as Tarvaris Jackson passed away this morning in a one-car accident. And so we have the coverage at scorenorth.com and a lot of people offering their tributes. And I guess just the timing here, we were always on Mondays together, Sage Rosenfels, but Tarvaris Jackson, a former teammate of yours, someone that you shared a quarterback room with during that 2009 season with Brett Favre as the starter. And I guess I will start by just leaving the floor to you, that you would know a lot more about Tarvaris than me. So what would you like to say? I mean, it's a very tragic day with Tarvaris Jackson passing away.
Yeah, so the lead up to for me, coming to the Vikings was, Schaub's back up in Houston, and we got along fairly well, but I can't see we have a great relationship. And, he was the guy that sort of had come in, they had traded for him, and he got a big contract, and I was just making backup money. And so I really was, and I played a lot in Houston, and we sort of basically almost split time because he got hurt a lot and different things. So anyway, I was really hoping to start, and Minnesota was this opportunity that, they had made the playoffs the year before. They knew there was tons of talent on this team, and Tarvaris was mostly an unproven quarterback for the most part. He'd obviously finished the season before and played in a playoff game, and so I was coming in to compete with him, and I didn't know him at all, and we got along right away. I can't say we were like great friends right off the bat. Obviously, we're just getting to know each other, and you sort of feel each other out of how you compete. And I'm trying to learn things from him because obviously he knows the offense way better than I do. But as we competed in the summertime, I think that we both. I had some issues probably a little bit with maybe the offense, and I was trying to learn it, and some things didn't make a lot of sense to me. And of course, Tarvaris had been sort of through some of those challenges, and also with the other veterans who had been there in the past, probably heard some of my same complaints 2 or 3 times from the other older guys. And so I think we started to bond almost over that. But when Favre showed up, that's when I think we actually became friends, because we were both now not really competing. Childress made him the number 2 guy, made me the number 3 guy. But it was more of, let's see how this goes. I guess there's nothing we can do about it. So we both sort of sat back and sort of watched Favre do his thing. And of course, and early on, we knew how good he was. I mean, that first practice we probably looked at each other a couple of times like, this dude can really throw the football. And so, and as we got into the season, as we got into the whole thing, that quarterback room became pretty tight. I mean, I think Tarvaris and I were both like, listen, we could win a dang Super Bowl. Like, I know it's nice to be the starter, but you can't complain about that, and watching Brett do his thing and being a part of that room. And Favre started setting records and throwing touchdown after touchdown and making this offense work that we had, we couldn't do the things that he could do, and he just somehow just made it happen and made unbelievably tight throws. And so, he was a sort of a come-to-work guy. He worked hard every single day. He wasn't arrogant. He was very well-liked in the locker room. And that was one of the things that I really remember when I showed up there. It was like, great, all the guys really liked Tarvaris. Mm-hmm. Like, this is going to be hard to beat out a guy who it seems like players and coaches really like him, And so we both got to go on that ride, and, we both, I wish I would have had a chance to, hang out with him another time. It's been a long time since I've seen him, but we both have so many stories that happened throughout that season. Practices, games, meetings. I mean, tons of those legendary moments that occurred in games that people sort of talk about, like, what happened in Chicago and what happened, obviously, in that championship game, but just all those games throughout the year and different controversies that went along with, say Brett and Childress, like when Chile was going to pull him out. I think it was a Sunday night game. We're playing at Carolina. We're winning 7-6 at halftime, and Brett's playing fine, but he's just getting his tail kicked. Our offensive line was getting beat. Julius Peppers was, Favre had gotten hit like 8 times in the first half or 10 times or something like that, and Childress walked over to Tarvaris and I, and he goes, hey, if Brett gets hit anymore, I'm going to take him out. And he walked away, and Tarvaris is like, I don't want any of that. Like, who wants to be the person who gets, put in because Favre, who's getting beat up too much by the offensive line and all of the, soap opera that everyone knew that would entail. So just little things like that would happen throughout the year. And when he did get in some of those sort of blowouts, man, he played really well. He played pretty dang well in those games that he did go in and stuff. And so, then we went through the whole season, went through the off season, and it was like the same thing. But, this time we actually sort of liked each other more. We both knew that we were going to go through this competition again, with also in the back of our minds that Brett might show up again. But, we both just sort of stuck our nose down and worked and tried to make the team better. We knew we obviously had this great team, but we didn't know what was going to happen with the Favre thing. And then obviously Favre came back, and I ended up being traded to the Giants, and that was sort of it. And obviously, he ended up winning the Super Bowl with Seattle, which is pretty cool. But it was just. I got woken up. Kevin Rogers was our quarterback's coach, and he sent me a text this morning. And I got it from Kenny Anatolo, who's a linebacker who lives near me in Omaha. And those are guys who obviously knew him very well. And I called up Kevin Rogers, and we started talking about it. And it was a great quarterback room. And the value of that, especially with a guy like Favre, but we got along so well, and there's every reason for us to not get along,
right?
And to maybe not like each other or whatever it might be. And, man, that was a lot of fun that year. But that quarterback room with Kevin Rogers as our guy, and obviously Bevel was in there a lot too. But, free-flowing discussions about all sorts of things. And we all come from, almost different eras, where Favre was 10 years older than me, and I was about, 5, 6 years than T-Jack. But those guys are from the South also, Alabama and Mississippi. And so they had that Southern thing going on. So they'd make fun of me sometimes because I was like the guy from the Midwest. And it was, of course, T-Jack was definitely more up to date on the, what was going on in the, pop culture world or
sure.
the music scene, of course, more than Brett and I. But he was just a great teammate to have us in that locker room, and just so many conversations. And I remember Kevin Rogers just saying a lot. And I had older kids at that point. I think my son was probably close to nine or something, and my daughter was probably about 6. And I had a young one too. But I just remember Kevin Rogers regularly talking to T-Jack about his kids, and he had a son, and just the things that they were doing, and first-time father, and all those things. And so that was a great room. Those are great memories in my life, and it's really a bummer that I'm not going to have a chance to share those somewhere down the line with T-Jack.
And Sage, just you and I going around at the Combine and talking to different people that you played with and things like that, there is a bond between guys who have done the thing that you've done, play in the NFL, especially for a long time, like you and Tarvaris Jackson both did, that few people have, I think. That there's an understanding of shared experiences that brings you closer, even if you weren't that close. But in this case, you guys got along really well. And I feel like from your perspective, it has to be even more of a gut punch because it's one of the few other people who did what you did, and you have that sort of bond.
Yeah, it's a pretty small circle, believe it or not. I don't know how many, quarterbacks play in the league for, 6+, 7+ years. But, we're all in there trying to, live this dream, and at the same time trying to make as much money as possible. And, team is an interesting thing, but there's also like this individual, like competing at my spot. And, and when two guys are truly competing for the job, or when guys, the fifth string guy, and how a Hall of Fame guy treats the fifth string quarterback for training camp. And, there's such a respect there because it is hard. And I know a lot of people look at professional athletes as, just all talent, and man, you're given so much talent. And
yeah.
And I tell you what, a lot of the talent is what we were given by the way we were born and by our parents in our minds, and what we work ethic. And if you want something, you have to work extremely hard to get it, and then to stay focused and be on top of your academics and to be a good person. It takes a lot of doing the right things in life to be, I think, a good NFL quarterback. It's not just just talent, and especially at that position. It's such a hard position. There's so much you got to know. There's so much pressure on it, and the guys that have played it, and not even at the highest levels, but just made it to the NFL and played for a few years and had a nice run. There's just a lot of respect there, and I very much respect the way Tarvaris did his business, and the way he worked and the way he was a teammate, and again the way he was respected on that football team. He was a really, really well liked guy, and I think a lot of former Vikings from that era are it's one of those days.
Yeah, for sure. Well, condolences obviously to his family and teammates who knew him, and to you as well, someone who shared some very interesting times with him. So we're going to move along and do what we do here, which is talk about football and sort of try to do the best we can during even tougher times. It hit me this morning when there's so much going on in the world, and every time you open up your Twitter, it's something terrible that you're reading every day. And then when some other tragedy gets added onto it, it's like, okay, this is a lot, So we'll just try to move forward and talk football as we always do. But obviously, again, condolences to Tarvaris Jackson's family.